Right, so in the first part of our tutorial, we created our table inside our database PHP Academy, and we set up our fields and all the relevant data to go with it, data types, etc. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to insert some dummy data inside of our database. And by doing this, I'm not going to click this insert button here, because by clicking this insert button here, we get a very easy to use interface here where we can type in our first name, last name, date of birth using our calendar function here. You can see that's just popped up, and we can also enter our gender here. But what I'm going to be doing, as this is an MySQL PHP tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to insert data using MySQL, or PHP rather. Now the first thing we need to do is connect to our database. So like I said, under our mysql.php file, we're going to use the include function to include our file connect.php. Now if this isn't in the same directory, you know that you can say, let's say that's a subdirectory /connect. Make sure you specify this file properly. Now if you don't want the page to execute, so if you say don't want the rest of the page to execute here, what you can do is you can use the require function. Now the require function kills the page if this isn't found from here on. So the include will include it, and then it will continue to it will continue to run the rest of the page. If you use the require function, it will in fact kill if this cannot be included. So what I like to do is say require connect.php, just to say that if we can't connect to the database, the rest of this page is pointless. We're just going to get a load of rubbish up on the page. Okay, so we've required our connect.php, and inside our connect.php we need to start our PHP MySQL functions. And the first one you need to know, we're going to store as a variable. This is going to be called connect, and this is going to be using the function MySQL connect. That's the first function you need to learn. It's the very most important in order to connect to your MySQL database. And this takes 3 parameters. The first one here is the web server itself, the address of the web server. I'm using my computer at the moment with a local web server, i.e. my local host. This can also be written as 127.0.0.1. If you're into that kind of thing, you know that that's a substitute for localhost. I would just prefer typing localhost, but that's me. Okay, now I'm using the standard username and password given to me. This is root, and my password doesn't exist. I don't have a password. So we've established a connection, but what happens if this connection is not initialized properly? What we can do after this is write or die, and in brackets we can specify an error message, for example connection failed. So let's presume at the moment this connection works. I'm going to echo out a piece of code saying connected. Okay. Now if this does connect successfully, it will run the rest of this script, i.e. it will echo out connected. Otherwise it will die. It will just give me this text and it won't run the rest of the page. So what I can do is I can open back up here, refresh. You can see I've got my connect.php, my mysql.php, and I'm going to click on mysql.php. The reason I'm not clicking connect, as you can see that inside MySQL we're requiring connect.php anyway. So as long as these are both saved out, we can just run mysql.php. And we can see that we've connected successfully. Now if I was to say change this to something like I don't exist, then you can see that we will get a connection error because that in fact hostname doesn't exist, at least on this computer. I can refresh, and we're taking a bit of time. Okay, there we are. You can see that we've got a MySQL error up here, and then we've got a connection failed text just here that we specified. Okay, so we've got an unknown MySQL server host, so if you ever get this error, you know what to look out for. This is the host that I specified, and you can see what line it's on, and all our usual debugging error message code. So let's presume that in fact what I can do first is just show you another useful thing. Or die, you can also specify in here another function. So this is the second function you should learn. It is MySQL error, just with brackets like that, and you can see that when we refresh our page, keeping the I don't exist, we can refresh, and it is taking its time. Okay, there we are. We can see that what we've basically done is we've echoed out the same error message that PHP has given us anyway. However, if your error reporting is turned off for your user, this will just basically give out what you want. Now we don't want to echo all this to the user. Let's say we can go up here and say error, and if you haven't seen the error reporting tutorial I made, go and check it out. If you have, I'm just going to say set this to 0, and basically this will turn off all error reporting. So what we should do is this error here will be ignored, but our specific error will be given out to the user. So if we refresh there, and again it's taking its time, so I apologise. There you go. We can just say we've got our specific error out there. Okay. So the next thing we need to do, presuming that we've connected successfully using this function, and if not, we've given our error message, we need to select our database. Now to do this, we use the MySQL select DB function, and this takes exactly one parameter, and that's the name of your database. So if we fire up PHP MyAdmin again, we can see that our database name is PHP Academy. So if I just type PHP Academy, this should work. And again, we can use this or die feature, and using our die function, we can specify a MySQL error if it doesn't exist, or anything of the like. So let's refresh this. In fact, I'm going to change this back to localhost because I'm getting back on track here. Let's refresh. So that's connected, and if this is not found, we are going to give our MySQL error out. So let's just say I don't exist, and we can refresh, and unknown database, I don't exist. So we can see that this is working as well. It's quite useful to have these errors, and then you can get sort of users to report back if they don't exist. So PHP Academy there. So presuming that everything's okay, we've got our, if we refresh, change this back to PHP Academy and save that, refresh, we have our connected successfully. So what I'm just going to do is keep a log of this, and I'm going to say that I am connected successfully, and just do a line paragraph after this so we can continue with the rest of our code. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to write some data to the database, and that is basically going to be in the next tutorial. So if you check out the next part of this tutorial, you'll find out exactly how to do that. Thanks for watching.